This is CBC Here and Now.
I'm so scared. I mean, if you're out there somewhere, Brandon, just let us know you're okay. All we want to know is that you're okay.
The search for a missing man from Gander. The family is pleading for anyone with information to speak with police.
Residents here say this is an ominous sign, literally, of the healthcare crisis in Newfoundland and Labrador.
When you see open today and could be closed tomorrow, it's alarming.
I'm Garrett Berry and I'll bring you to Bonavista coming up on Here and Now.
This is a really, really sad evening at Mary Queen World. A lot of parishioners have tears in their eyes.
The Catholic Church's footprint in Mount Pearl is about to change. Mary Queen of the World will close. St. Peter's appears to be the church of the future. Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Carolyn is off this week. We start tonight in central Newfoundland, where police and search and rescue crews are intensifying their search for a missing Gander man. 29-year-old Brandon Tucker was last seen Friday morning. A family member told CBC News his phone was last active that afternoon. The RCMP are asking residents to check their properties, sheds, or exterior buildings. Volunteer search and rescue teams are involved in the search and are using a drone. One tip reported seeing Tucker get into an old white pickup truck in Lewisport on Saturday, but his partner says that's one of many tips that have come in, and so far none have panned out.
And we appreciate everything that everyone was doing and every tip that they send in. But we really do urge you to please send your tips to the RCMP directly. They are more qualified and more capable of dealing with this than we are. And it's just leaving us very emotionally drained. I can't even begin to explain to you how I feel. I'm so scared. I mean, if you're out there somewhere, Brandon, just let us know you're okay. All we want to know is that you're okay. Nothing else matters.
Well, it's the fifth day on the picket line for striking workers at the city of Mount Pearl, and it's causing frustrations for parents. The head of CUPE Local 2099, who represents Mount Pearl workers, says the sticking point is lower benefits for new employees. According to the union, it was the city that walked away from the negotiating table. Caught in the middle of all of this, children. Striking workers have been picketing in front of baseball and soccer fields, causing disruptions for parents looking to drop off their kids for summer programming.
I'll have to say there hasn't been any talk since we broke from the city. The city walked away from the table, and they have not reached out to us to go back and have any conversations since. Obviously, we're setting up our lines, as people know. We're getting around the city. Our workers do the work of the city at all of our city facilities and all of our recreation facilities. Things have been going well regards to organization. I mean, we've obviously had some issues on our lines. I mean, tensions are high. It's a time of year when people want to get back to their normal activities, and that's just not happening right now.
Regardless of what politics is on the go, I don't think it should affect the children. Especially during the summertime, they're looking forward to all these sports and stuff, and it creates some structure in their lives during the summer. Shouldn't have anything to do with the kids. Frustration, obviously, you got a busy summer now that you need to occupy your children 24/7. There's no real break. That was an energy release for the children.
For us to have to take this action is not easy for us, and the city was fully aware. They knew, and we could have stayed at the table, but they walked away. And this is the situation we're in. There's still concessions on that table that we need to discuss and get back to the table. The city needs to take away. Our members are not going to have two-tiered systems. We're not going to have our benefits cut. Right? The city's taking full advantage of this economic condition we're in right now, and that's why we're out here on the street. And we absolutely apologize to the residents, and we will make it up to them at some point. But maybe they need to start getting on to council to get us back to the table.
Well, a beautiful summer day out there for a good chunk of the island. In fact, today 22 degrees in St. John's was the afternoon high. The warm spot Terra Nova at 24. We do have some cooler air moving in up across Labrador as well. 9 degrees in Nain this afternoon, and same thing for Makkovik. 18 in Lab City, but your temperatures are actually going to drop as we head through the next little bit. So taking a look at what's going on, ridge of high pressure to the south. We do have a few showers on the go across eastern areas of the island, and then we're looking at some more shower activity moving up across Labrador as we head through the overnight tonight. We'll take a look at those showers just a little bit further east at the moment, but those showers are going to move in as we head through the night tonight. Some heavy rain expected across Labrador, Lab City, and then through central Labrador as we get through the overnight and into tomorrow, bringing about 30, maybe even 50 millimeters of rain. I will get into the full forecast coming up.
It's another week and another round of emergency room closures to deal with. The health center in Fogo is going to be open for a virtual ER from tomorrow morning until Friday, meaning anyone needing emergency care will be connected with a doctor who's going to be elsewhere. But that's not the only one. Let's take a look. The ER is shut down in Springdale for today, sending people an hour away to Grand Falls, Windsor. The emergency room in Bay Verte closed yesterday morning and will reopen tomorrow, sending patients almost 2 hours to Grand Falls, Windsor. And in Whitburn, the ER is closed again for an entire week, sending patients 40 minutes to Carbonear or Placentia or an hour to St. John's. The mayor of Whitburn says the need for the emergency room is there, and many people in her community don't have the car to make a trek.
Why are you closing them? Did the people all disappear? They not needed anymore? They can't go to St. John's. How many of these people don't even have a car, let alone a taxi or a bus? So, I mean, closing these clinics is just, if it's because of lack of doctors, then get your rear end gear and get out and get some doctors.
Well, Bonavista is another community that has been hit by this province's physician shortage. That town's hospital was open today for the emergency room, but it was closed for a stretch last week. Patients there worry about it being a sign of things to come. Here now's Garrett Berry has more from the community.
Almost like a theater billboard, open today. But this?
Pretty ominous, really, isn't it? If you look at it, there's no doubt about that.
It's actually terrible. Because the hospital here has always been 24/7 ever since I can remember.
The doctor shortages have now hit Bonavista. This hospital's ER was shut down for 48 hours last week. And patients here believe the introduction of this sign is not a good sign for things to come.
When you see open today and could be closed tomorrow, it's alarming.
If you round the corner in Bonavista and this sign says closed, your next option is in Clarenville. That's 121 kilometers away.
It could be a matter of seconds meaning somebody's life, and obviously you want that coverage as close to home as possible. An hour and a half is a tremendous amount, especially when the condition of our roads, unfortunately. And when you think about the possibility of someone's life, it's alarming.
According to the area's MHA, there's enough serious traffic here to justify 24/7 coverage.
We had 156 in the last count at Bonavista Hospital. Level 1 being resuscitation, level 2 being emergent. And I would say to you, the data shows that the need would be here to have a 24-hour emergency department.
And don't forget, now in the summer, this area swells with tourists and travelers from around the world. With this much action, wouldn't you think you could find a doctor or two in this crowd?
It's provincial, it's national, it's international, the issue, but there are things that we can do differently to increase our odds of making sure we secure healthcare professionals.
Eastern Health blames human resource challenges, a lack of doctors to do the job. It says recruitment is ongoing, but the opposition MHA says the community has been shut out.
We don't have anybody now locally in our catchment area of 8,000 people that's directly involved with the recruitment and retention of physicians in our area. Is that significant? I would say it conceivably is.
So for now, locals are strapping in for a long summer.
Made a joke that maybe Eastern Health wants to visit Bridge Circle, where the sign used to be in the door. It says open when we is here and closed when we is not.
Garrett Berry, CBC News, Bonavista.
Staying with healthcare, friends are speaking out after a 30-year-old man died following a leg infection. They say his death illustrates how broken the province's healthcare system has become. Wei Jianfeng was one of about 125,000 people who don't have a family doctor. Mark Quinn reports.
The gentlest soul you could possibly meet.
Dean Barnes fights back tears as he remembers his friend Wei Jianfeng. Feng was a restaurant worker in St. John's who had diabetes. On May 24th, the 30-year-old was found dead and alone in his apartment. A medical examiner determined he died of sepsis caused by an infection.
The more stories that are told, the more pressure I'm hoping will be put onto the system so that 31-year-olds do not die of something which is completely treatable.
He wasn't getting the proper care and didn't have a doctor, and he was supposed to have been on a waiting list because he went to the health science a couple of times in an ambulance from work. So, you know, but he was never assigned a doctor that I was aware of.
Like a quarter of the residents of this province, Feng doesn't have a family doctor. Brenda Johnson knew him for more than a decade. She says Feng's death was simply unacceptable.
I would like for people to care enough to speak up, and I'd like for people who are in authority with the healthcare system get their act together. You know, how many people have to die? He wasn't even started his life, and that happened. That's just tragic.
Johnson is in her 60s. I asked her if she's worried if healthcare services will be available for her in the future.
Darling, I'm there. And, you know, I've had a few things happen to myself. I've gone off in an ambulance, had a mild stroke and a few things, and it's not great. You know, sometimes you're waiting a long time and it's not great. Even though the people that work there are great, you know, but they don't have any. They're just going through the motions like everybody else, trying to do their best.
CBC News asked the Provincial Health Department for comment. It responded with a statement that offers condolences. It also said the government understands the challenges associated with not having a family doctor, and that finding and keeping more physicians is a priority for the provincial government. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
A Mount Pearl priest is asking Catholics to unite after a decision to close one of the churches in Mount Pearl. Mary, Queen of the World Church will close, and the church instead will focus on trying to keep St. Peter's open. Terry Roberts has the latest on a court process that is reshaping Roman Catholic Archdiocese of St. John's.
People are really, really sad, but we must go forth together, and we will make Christ the center.
Father Wayne Dowie is priest for the twin parishes of St. Peter's and Mary Queen of the World. And this weekend, after much anticipation, he delivered some big news.
Mary Queen of the World will be closing, and we plan to keep St. Peter's Parish as our main church.
Relief for St. Peter's. Heartbreak for many here at another church, which is destined for closure and most likely a sale to private interests.
This is a really, really sad evening at Mary Queen of the World. A lot of parishioners have tears in their eyes. And so there's a very sad mass, to be honest with you.
Archbishop Peter Hunt made the call after a joint committee was deadlocked. St. Peter's got the nod because it's bigger and newer. It's the latest development as the Archdiocese sells off properties in an attempt to raise millions for Mount Cashel abuse survivors. Each congregation submitted separate bids early in the process, but they were too low and rejected. So it was decided to submit a new, bigger bid on one church and combine the two parishes. Now the challenge is raising enough money.
We can only bid on the church as long as we can get access to some funds. And so I'd ask you to contact family and friends again to help us out.
And healing any divisions caused by this groundbreaking decision.
You know, when you meet people from good people from Mary Queen of the World, you know, basically say we're sorry. If some people come here from Mary Queen of the World, which we hope they will, our focus is to be hospitable.
The next big question, what becomes of the unique artwork by the late Jerry Squires at Mary Queen of the World? There are legal and copyright issues surrounding the art. Neither the Archbishop nor Father Dowie responded to interview requests. Insolvency documents, however, say artwork and other religious valuables are excluded from the sales process unless specifically agreed to. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Changing now to sports, the Newfoundland Growlers basketball team picked up the second win of the season over the weekend.
Here come the Growlers. Blake Francis got it. Francis to Sampson. He ran out of room, but Sampson knocks it down.
It was a nail-biter at Memorial University's field house on Saturday afternoon, with the Growlers and the Saskatchewan Rattlers tied at 92 apiece until Brandon Sampson secured the second win in franchise history. Sampson led the team with 22 points, and Terry Thomas added 20 more. The win moves the Growlers to 2-1 on the season. The team hits the hard court on Friday here at St. John's to take on the Niagara River Lions. Well, from lions to a turtle that's been on the run and hiding out in Bowring Park has been captured. Last week, we told you about the turtle rescue group who was trying to find it.
Got her.
We got a turtle.
Well, that's the moment when Tanya Constantine and Dennis Oliver grabbed the turtle from the duck pond at Bowring Park. It took a couple of hours to locate the turtle, but it's now going to be moved into the Turtle Rest and Retirement Villa.
COVID-19 made it very difficult for the whale watching business here in Bay Bulls to stay afloat. The two competitors found a way to work together. That story coming up.
That's some pretty nice weather as well. Take a look at the long-range forecast for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. Lots of sun, lots of temperatures in the 20s. I'll break it all down for you coming up.
Muslims across the world celebrated Eid al-Adha over the weekend, and the local Muslim community was no exception. The holiday is also known as the Festival of Sacrifice, and it's one of the most important celebrations for Muslims. After 2 years, once again, people were able to come together from all across the province and pray in person. They did it at the Techniplex in St. John's on Saturday.
This is Eid event, which is a celebration which basically starts after the pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. Basically, it is very important to perform this pilgrimage once in their lifetime, which is called Hajj. So it happens once a year, but for people, it's once in a lifetime opportunity. We used to have this event in our own mosque, but our community has grown tremendously, and we are still struggling to find a place, but Techniplex has always been there to provide us this place for this event. So we really want to thank them. There's no way we can accommodate these many people in our own mosque. We are expecting at least 3,000 people. After the prayer is over, people usually meet each other, greet each other, and then the men, usually ladies don't want to go to the place where they have the animal being sacrificed, so they go to that place and basically perform that ritual, and then come back and then have food, and then again like visiting people and their neighbors back home. They'll visit their relatives. During the COVID, we couldn't have this gathering. So yes, obviously everybody is happy. Our community is coming together, and a lot of people are traveling from different parts of the island. They have already, some I know, they have already come last night, yesterday evening. So people have already started coming from different parts of Newfoundland and Labrador, because this is one of the two biggest events in our community.
Ashley, it was a beautiful weekend, and it looks like you've got another beautiful week of forecasts for us.
For some of us, for sure. Definitely looking
as long as it's for me, that's why.
Yeah, St. John's, Eastern Newfoundland, looking at a pretty nice stretch of weather. We do have some rain on the way in some areas as well, but that's okay. We can always use rain.
Because things are pretty dry.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I went for a hike, and the areas that are normally kind of a bit marshy is starting to get,
Yeah. So we definitely want that weather for sure. But let's take a look at those temperatures today. Very summer-like out there. 22 degrees in St. John's today. Those temperatures, even along the south coast, pretty nice, around 18 degrees for Port aux Basques, Burgeo as well. And then single-digit temperatures, unfortunately, up across Labrador. 9 degrees was the afternoon high in Nain. Taking a look outside right now, live shot. Some high cloud has moved in, but still a beautiful evening out there in St. John's. 22 degrees, not much of a humidex there. Only feeling like 23, but a bit breezy as well. Those winds out of the west around 33 kilometers per hour. If we take a look at the humidex across the province, more humid, relatively speaking, though, towards the west coast, feeling more like 18 right now in Corner Brook, and then up across Labrador, not a whole lot to talk about. But when we talk about humidex, we always talk about the dew point and where that's sitting. So right now it is sitting around 13, hence that bit of humidity in the air. But as we head through the next couple of days, if you like the humidity, you will like this forecast, certainly as we head into Wednesday. So Tuesday, we're still talking about pretty dry conditions out there across the board. But by the time we get into Wednesday, more humid air mass moving in. We're talking about dew points between 14 to about 16 degrees. So this is when we're going to start to feel a little sticky in some areas across the island, and even southeastern portions of Labrador. We'll see that as well, and some of us will stick around even as we head into Thursday. Now, the return of the humidity also means the return of the fog along the south coast, unfortunately. So that will happen Tuesday night into Wednesday. and then even into Thursday as well. So taking a look at the muggy meter means we're going to start feeling muggy probably Wednesday afternoon into Thursday through the overnight. We'll see a dip in that, and then that will return as we head into Friday and Saturday. This is for eastern Newfoundland, but most of central and the west coast will be seeing similar humidity levels. Now, taking a look at the current satellite radar, we do have a little bit of a system to the west. That is going to move in as we head through the night tonight, particularly for Labrador and parts of the central areas of the Big Land as well. So we can see that pretty well on the future tracker. We may see a few showers moving in and around the west coast, northern peninsula, and then even potentially reaching central. Just a few sprinkles expected, but as we head into the morning hours, this is when we'll see the majority of that rain move in. Will be heavy at times, may stay a little bit south of Lab City, but still definitely looking at some showers as we head into the early morning hours. This is your temperatures for tonight, around 10 degrees for Lab City. Still coastal areas looking at those single-digit temperatures, northern peninsula as well. Otherwise, between 13 to 15 degrees tonight. Winds out of the south, a bit breezy, 20 to 40 kilometers per hour for most. Now, as we head through tomorrow, this rain's going to work its way across the Big Land. Again, will be heavy at times through the day. Southeastern portions of Labrador as well. You'll see that as the day goes on, and eventually we'll see some clearing from south to north across the northern peninsula as the afternoon moves along. Now, the rest of the island looking pretty beautiful tomorrow, maybe a few cloudy periods, but when we start to see some of that humid air move in tomorrow night into Wednesday, we'll likely see some fog patches develop along the south coast and the eastern areas of the Avalon, becoming cloudy through the overnight. Tuesday into Wednesday. You see all that rain's going to work its way across the Big Land as well. So amounts generally 20 to 30 millimeters. We may see some pockets through central that are a bit higher than that, maybe 30 to 50 millimeters of rain, and that will work its way towards the coast. Again, this will put us through to Wednesday morning. Temperatures tomorrow looking absolutely beautiful. 25 degrees in St. John's with those winds out of the south. Areas in that onshore flow may see temperatures a bit cooler than that. Central, similar forecasts as far as those temperatures go, between mid to high 20s through the day. A little cooler along the south coast. Still beautiful though, 18 degrees in Harbour Breton. West coast, similar forecast. Southerly winds, a bit brisk, 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. And again, those temperatures a little cooler thanks to those showers for southeastern Labrador and the northern peninsula. Easterly winds too, so that's keeping your temperatures cool. Same thing for coastal areas. About 13 to 16 degrees for the rest of the Big Land. A bit breezy through the day as well. We do have a bit of a warm up on the way, but I'll get into those details coming up.
Well, here in Bay Bulls, to take a look at an industry that had a hard time like COVID, like so many other industries, but some special things were challenging for the whale watching and puffin watching industry. Mike Gatherell joins me now. So Mike, what was business like before the pandemic?
Well, 2018, 19 were both very good years. Newfoundland was trending upwards. From our own numbers and from speaking with people in the industry, 2020 was shaping up to be very good up until end of February, early March, when COVID decided to jump the pond and everybody felt the effects of it. And then it just flatlined and then took a nosedive and basically went into the crapper.
So that's the economic term for difficulty. So how bad did it get?
Oh, I mean, for tourism here in Newfoundland, in our particular sector, approximately 90% of our traffic is non-resident visitation. So for us, it has a huge impact. We have, thankfully, a great local audience as well. Counts for about 10% of our revenue in an annual year. But the problem for us is that we're selling whale watching and puffins and boat tours to a local audience oftentimes that has access to boats. And if they don't have it, their father, their brother, their friend has one. So the market is not that huge here, unfortunately, in Newfoundland.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time where there was a big push on staycations and people decided, okay, we're going to do our bit, but without tourists, especially from the mainland, it was difficult for a lot of businesses. So tell me about you and your arch rivals, the O'Briens, and what happened during the pandemic.
Well, it's a very interesting story. I mean, we've both grown up here in the area on the water. We're actually next door neighbours. So as children, we did grow up and play together. And my brother Al and Joe were, they were bosom buddies all throughout, from the time they were tots. Obviously competition played into it, and for a number of years, there's back and forth. But the nice thing about COVID was it was an opportunity for both companies to really work together, to cooperate. We both realized that it was senseless to run multiple boats and in and out with the small numbers of people that were likely to be around in 2020. So we decided to share our resources. We operated from our base, we used their boat. So that way everybody had a little part in it. We were able to keep all of our staff in play as much as possible, and the same for the other folks as well, for the O'Briens. And it was just a great way to share. People loved the story that you had these two great companies that were, McDonald's and Burger King kind of a thing, that all of a sudden were working together. And it was very much a good news story.
So I think, I wouldn't say the Hatfield and McCoys, but, in capitalism, businesses compete against each other. What is it that you and the O'Briens learned during COVID?
Oh, well, we share a lot of similarities. We're both visiting the same area, doing the same type of an operation, but we each go about it slightly differently, and that was a great opportunity. We both learned from each other. Listen, there's things that they do very, very well. There's things that we do very, very well. And that was the great opportunity, that we were able to share some of that knowledge and I think make both companies even stronger.
Now, I was on the O'Brien's tour and I saw you guys and we got footage of your boat. And your boat was blocked, their boat was blocked. What has the season been like this year? It's
been off to a very solid start. So our numbers at the early part of the season were very strong. We're still dealing with a lot of the effects of COVID and supply chain issues. As most people are aware, rental car availability is still horrendous. So we've actually got a lot of our international tour operator partners that have not been able to sell 2022 Newfoundland programs since February or March, because they've had essentially stop sell orders from the rental agencies for the cars. But what that's done is that's now moving some of that demand into 2023-24, which again is not a bad thing.
So when I was looking around there, I saw a lot of visitors from Ontario, all those people that weren't coming that were here. Now that we're back and it looks kind of busy, what do you enjoy, despite those ongoing problems with COVID? What do you enjoy about things getting back to what almost looks like normal?
Yeah, you know what? The one thing that we really take for granted is just the openness and friendliness of people, and it's so nice to see people enjoying traveling again. All too often we focus on the negative parts of it. We know there's issues at the airports and so on, but once people get their feet on the ground and you see the smiling faces, it's fabulous. We just came in, the trip was almost sold out, and there was people from all parts of Canada, the US, some from the UK. I had a gentleman on board whose father was actually on the U-boat that surrendered here in Bay Bulls. It's fabulous to see stories like that.
All right, I'll let you go. Mike, thanks a lot for your time. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm so scared. If you're out there somewhere, Brandon, just let us know you're okay. All we want to know is that you're okay.
The family of a Gander man missing since Friday is appealing for any information in his disappearance. Up next, Martin Jones, who's hosting On the Go this week, talks to the man's partner. Search has intensified for a Gander man missing since Friday. Brandon Tucker was last seen on Friday morning. Search and rescue teams are asking residents to help them by checking their own properties. Today, those teams will deploy drones to help with the search. Travis Gleason is Brandon Tucker's partner. Martin Jones, who's hosting On the Go this week, spoke with him earlier today.
Travis, I just want to start by saying thank you for making time for us, because I know how incredibly stressful this is.
No, thank you. We really appreciate your time.
I want to start with you and your family. How are you holding up right now?
I mean, we're not, but we're sticking together and we're trying to be here for each other and support each other and do everything we can. But I mean, we're devastated, we're terrified, we're heartbroken. We just want him home.
Can you bring us up to speed on the search to this point? It's been 4 days since Brandon went missing. What's the latest?
I mean, we haven't had any updates in quite some time now. We've had search and rescue, ground search happening. We've had the police dogs. We've had our own family and friends performing ground searches and vehicle searches all across the province. We're following every single lead that we get, and just nothing is pointing us to Brandon.
Talk about the circumstances that led to Brandon's disappearance here. When was the last time he was seen?
Brandon was seen Friday morning. He's not... We have reason to believe that maybe he's not in, a great frame of mind. We're concerned about his mental health and well-being.
For those of us who don't know Brandon, tell us a little bit about him.
Brandon is the sweetest, kindest, most gentle person that you will ever meet. He's an amazing person, an amazing friend. He's a musician. He's a gamer, a reader, a comic book nerd. He's an all-around fantastic person.
Has something like this ever happened before with Brandon, or is this something that is absolutely new?
It's new. It's completely out of character.
It's been 4 days. Has the family or the RCMP gotten any tips of where he could be right now?
We've received a lot of tips, and we're following them the best we can. It's just nothing is turning up. We've had leads heading west, leads heading east, but we're doing the best we can to follow them, but we're just not finding anything.
I know there was one tip that involved Brandon getting into a white truck. What can you tell us about that?
It was near the forestry office in Lewisport. Someone saw someone that they believed to be Brandon getting into an older style white Chev pickup truck and then heading back toward the highway. And I did receive another tip that someone saw the same truck in Grand Falls, but they couldn't determine whether or not Brandon was there. But they said the truck is very easily identifiable because it has a lot of dents and a lot of, that sort of thing.
I know you've received a lot of tips, the RCMP have as well. Talk about the emotional journey then of getting tips that don't pan out, or maybe ones that you're still looking through right now.
I mean, it's very emotionally taxing on all of us. I mean, every time we get a lead, it's building hope, and they come to us and we get hopeful and we take action and we run and it turns out to be nothing. And we appreciate everything that everyone was doing and every tip that they send in. But we really do urge you to please send your tips to the RCMP directly. They are more qualified and more capable of dealing with this than we are. And it's just leaving us very emotionally drained.
Travis, you're Brandon's partner. What is this doing to you right now?
I can't even begin to explain to you how I feel. I'm so scared. I mean, if you're out there somewhere, Brandon, just let us know you're okay. All we want to know is that you're okay. Nothing else matters.
For those people listening and watching right now, advice to them for the best way that they can help out in this situation right now.
Keep sharing things on social media, all of his pictures, all the RCMP posts, anything that gets his name and his face out there. I mean, if you see anyone that matches his description or anything suspicious, call it into the RCMP. If you've got time, if you're on the highway or if you're driving around town, keep an eye out. We have no idea where he is. Anything helps at this point. Absolutely anything.
Travis, listen, again, thank you for your time with this. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best with this.
Thank you so much.
Tomorrow on CBC Radio on the St. John's Morning Show, the future of the vote. Equal Voice is inviting 40 women and gender-diverse people to take part in a summer to encourage political involvement and action. That's one person from each district. And on Labrador Morning, 2022 in Canada is officially the Year of the Garden. Find out what that means and how it's being recognized. The provincial COVID stats seem to be showing an improving picture. As of last Wednesday, there were just 8 people in hospital and there were no recorded deaths in the previous week because of the disease. But a researcher at the University of Toronto is warning that the COVID risk in this province is still high. Tara Moriarty is a professor and studies infectious diseases. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're most welcome. Thank you for having me.
So you've put together the COVID Hazard Index, and you found that Newfoundland and Labrador is right now sitting at high, in fact, higher than any other province. Why do you say that?
So Newfoundland and Labrador was had really come down, was really improving for several weeks until the most recent hazard index update, which is for up to Saturday, July 9th. What's happening now in Newfoundland and Labrador is that the test positivity rates are increasing really quickly. And that may be related to a BA5 surge in the province, like in many other Canadian regions. And so what this means is that it's likely that hospitalizations, ICU admissions, deaths are going to begin going back up again. And wastewater is also increasing in Newfoundland and Labrador as well. So this suggests that we're starting to see a lot more infections again, and that people should really take care, especially because a lot of the people who haven't been infected yet during Omicron are people older than 40, whose vaccine protection is probably waning. So we may actually see more severe outcomes in the next big surge than previously, because the people who will be infected are more vulnerable.
So how do you reconcile those numbers with the stats that the province has put out that shows that, you know, the numbers have actually been quite low, people aren't dying, people aren't ending up in hospital?
So things have been improving. It was really starting to look good for Newfoundland and Labrador. But it is worsening again now, and people should be aware of that and recognize or be aware that there is a new surge or wave that has started in other provinces with the BA5 variant, and it's clear that it started now in Newfoundland and Labrador as well.
You mentioned masks. People should be thinking about wearing them. I know anecdotally, when I was at the grocery store on the weekend, you know, we've gone from most people wearing them to now it seems like most people aren't wearing them. How much of a concern is that for you, and how much do you think that has the potential to increase the surge that we're seeing?
Yeah, so mask wearing actually is very important. It doesn't prevent all infections, but it certainly slows the spread down. It blocks chains of transmission, so that fewer people are infected, and that fewer, you can, you know, probably prevent 25% of infections over time, which is a lot actually. In an Omicron surge, it's a lot of infections you can prevent. But the other really important thing for people to realize is that slowing down chains of infection is really, slowing down transmission is really important so that healthcare systems don't get overwhelmed, so that hospitals are available for people who have not just problems with COVID, but with other things that need urgent care.
You mentioned hospitalizations. So far, the Newfoundland and Labrador health system has been able to keep up with the number of people showing up in hospital because of COVID-19, but you've been figuring out what the cost on the healthcare system was because of the Omicron surge. What did you find in terms of what it's cost to be able to treat people who have COVID?
So we estimate that so far with Omicron, apologies, I just have to look at my number here, that the cost of hospitalization in Newfoundland and Labrador has probably been about $62 million. That would be since the beginning of December. And the daily cost expected based on the hospitalizations we expect from the infections that are happening now is nearly $400,000 a day.
Well, I appreciate you joining us and sharing some of your analysis today. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. I'm always glad to help.
Well, looking south of the border, Planned Parenthood held Planned Parenthood held a rally this weekend to protest the U.S. Supreme Court's reversal of the Roe v. Wade decision. About 80 people attended the event in front of the Confederation Building here in St. John's. While they protested the U.S. court decision, they also demanded better access to abortion care locally.
We're here with a little rally about reproductive justice. Half in response to what's happening in America with Roe v. Wade, and I can't say that things like that aren't coming here in Newfoundland and Labrador and Canada as well. People who are pushing for limiting access to abortion are definitely getting louder. It really gives voice to people who want to limit abortion access, and it gives them a space to then push for it in their own country, push for limited access. What I'm hoping to see instead is that people in other countries are now thinking about abortion and reproductive rights access and are now pushing for more access. Here in Canada, especially in Newfoundland and Labrador, we don't have a lot of access to abortion. While it's totally legal, access is a massive issue. If you live rurally, you have to leave your town. It can cost a lot of money. And the same thing goes for other reproductive healthcare needs. So fertility, contraception, it's all really inaccessible. Reproductive justice is about more than just women. It can be about trans and non-binary people. And it's also not just about abortion. It's about access to all reproductive care.
Well, before we get to the weather, something we want to show you. It's not something you see every day. It is a goat with the ears that make it look a bit like Dumbo the elephant.
Yeah, he's just over a month old and already something of a social media sensation. And his owner has contacted the Guinness Book of World Records, and they're sending a team out to check out the long-eared wonder.
Okay, so this is Simba the goat. It's a very distinctive look. If you're wondering how long are those ears, 56 centimeters, so that's about 22 inches, and they're still growing. The kid goat now has a special velvet pouch so that he can run around without getting tripped up in his ears.
Oh my goodness, that's adorable. Simba's owner is passionate about goat breeding, but his day job is working as an air traffic controller, which might come in handy if Simba learns how to use those ears to take flight.
Yeah, or if there's a good stiff breeze and he doesn't have one of those little weighted cages in order to keep him from... Yeah.
That is, I've never seen anything like that.
So speaking of breezes, how does the long-range forecast look? Because we've had, it's been rare. We've had some nice weather, and it also hasn't been like, you know, blowing a gale.
Except on Sunday when when it was blowing a gale. For
Oh,
sure.
it was still okay.
It was still beautiful. Lots of sunshine. Things are going to
It was
get
a warm breeze.
It was a warm breeze. Things are going to get a bit breezy though as we do head through the next couple of days. And that's because an area of low pressure is going to move in and tighten that gradient. Let's take a look at what's going on. So Tuesday, tomorrow night into Wednesday, that's when we'll see all that rain move across the big land. We're talking about 30 to potentially 50 millimeters in some cases. And then by Wednesday, we're back into that southerly flow. This is when we're going to start to see that humidity return in some cases. And then along the south coast and really anywhere in those onshore winds, you're looking at the potential for some fog as well. Now, Wednesday, for the most part, doesn't look too bad. We may see a few spotty showers here and there, but overall temperatures will be in the 20s again. The best weather should be the further east you go. So on the Avalon, 25 degrees for your Wednesday, 24 through Central. So not much of a difference, but again, some rainy conditions on the west coast, or at least in the morning. Likely going to stay cloudy through the day on Wednesday. Up across Labrador, temperatures will rebound a little bit, so back to about 17 degrees for you in Lab City. Still staying cool for Nain though, around 9 degrees as your daytime high into the afternoon. Now, as we look ahead to Wednesday evening into Thursday, models picking up on some showers through the day. I do think we'll see a bit more sunshine than what is shown here, but overall, a bit of an unsettled day. Don't be surprised if you see some spotty showers, but they should be fairly isolated in nature, and those temperatures again into the 20s. Now, on the west coast, a bit cooler, about 19 degrees for you, and then up across Labrador, again, a cool day for Nain with showers continuing through the day, but back to the 20s it looks like for central and western Labrador as the day goes on for Thursday. Now, taking a look at the long range forecast, I know I showed you this a little bit earlier, but it's looking pretty nice. Now, we may see a few showers on Thursday, like I said, Friday in the morning, and then things should clear out, but temperatures should be in the 20s, and at this point, good start to the weekend as well, about 23 degrees for St. John's, and again, a little bit of humidity in the mix as well. Taking a look at the forecast for central Newfoundland, some showers possible on Friday, but overall another beautiful day expected. Some windy conditions, like I said, on Wednesday, but overall temperatures into the 20s. For western Newfoundland, same thing. Things should clear out for the weekend. Looking pretty nice at this point. A little cool in the overnight, about 12 or 13 degrees, but still pretty nice. For eastern Labrador, you're looking at nice some sunshine for Saturday, and then same thing in the west, but a few showers and temperatures will return to the 20s. Take a look at this beauty. Sunset at Cape Ray. John shared this great shot with us, and if you have any weather photos you'd like to share with us, send them to my Facebook page, Twitter, or email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Well, Ashley, what a beautiful shot. Although I do have to say, I think you and Carolyn have been in cahoots, because I think you tipped her off to this beautiful forecast for the week and said, take the week off.
Take the week off. It's a good idea. Definitely a good idea.
Yeah, so next time you got a great forecast, let me know.
I'll let you know, definitely.
And that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you get out and have a chance to enjoy the beautiful weather.
Good night.